Hey everybody, and welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be going over another massive severe weather outbreak as we go into later this week. I'll also be breaking down another winter storm that'll impact the United States. I'll give you the latest breakdown on both of these situations and more in this forecast. Let's first begin with what's happening across the United States today, beginning with the Midwest, which is where that low pressure system is currently located, which brought severe weather to those in the southern plains last night. It obviously brought a few tornadoes to areas like Norman along with Oklahoma City, but this system is finally moving off to the north and northeast. Severe weather will really wind down today. There have been a few tornado warnings this morning in areas like Illinois, but this system will really just primarily become a rainmaker and as well as a winter storm that could even bring some ice accumulation into the Midwest along with heavy snowfall. And then eventually this will go into the northeast, bringing additional snowfall upwards of 6 to 10 inches in some areas overnight tonight into tomorrow morning. But our next storm that's developing right now that'll impact the United States is located back out here to the west. That is near Oregon as well as Washington. This could bring a severe weather outbreak to the southern plains along with a winter storm that could span anywhere from almost Texas all the way through areas into New York. It'll be a pretty large area to watch. More details on that here in just a moment. But let's go over the next few days, give you an idea of what's going to be happening in the United States. Beginning with tonight, there will be some snowfall back up into the northeast tonight with that low pressure system. One of these low pressure systems will actually form offshore. There'll be another one located in Canada, and we got a third one all the way back up even further to the north and west of the second low pressure system. It's basically a trio of low pressure systems across the northeast back into Canada. Pretty impressive setup for this entire thing, but snow will be obviously ongoing in New England, most likely going to end by about Wednesday morning. Once we go into Wednesday into Thursday, a couple of small low pressure systems may form in the Midwest, so a little bit of snowfall may come out of that. But our next low pressure system that'll bring the threat for severe weather along with the winter storm is that one that's going to go right through California again into the Four Corner states and eventually develop over the southern plains as we go into Thursday night and Friday morning. This could bring a severe weather outbreak and eventually bring the threat for a winter storm. In fact, there is a chance that this winter storm brings upwards of even 18 inches of snow when this is all said and done. So this will be something to watch for very closely. More details on that a little bit later in this forecast, but let's talk about that severe weather potential this week. Beginning with Wednesday, there is a marginal threat for severe weather from Texas back through Georgia, but the bigger day will be Thursday. That is when we have the threat for all modes of severe weather, including damaging winds, large hail, and potential for several tornadoes does exist. This may be even worse than what we just saw yesterday in terms of a tornado threat for those anywhere from Texas all the way back through areas in Alabama. So this is a really key area to watch. Enhanced risk currently located from Texas back through western Alabama. Slight risk goes all the way back into eastern Alabama. Once we go into Friday, there's another chance for severe weather in the southeast from Alabama back through North Carolina. This will primarily be for damaging winds, but again, we're a little bit far out, so things may change a little bit in terms of location. Now, the big thing with this system is the low-level jet. This is what's going to help rotate these supercells and potentially produce a tornado threat. So once we go through Thursday afternoon and evening, keep a close eye over here to the east. This is basically where the storms will be Thursday night into Friday. The low-level jet, these reds and as well as the yellows, they're really representing a pretty moderate to even strong low-level jet, which will help to aid a stronger tornado threat. And even going into Friday morning, look at these values, upwards of 60 to 70 knots. That is a very strong low-level jet that could very well ramp up the tornado action substantially. I would not rule out that this goes to a moderate threat of severe weather at some point pretty soon, so stay tuned on that. Also, the instability values, there will be enough instability for severe weather without a doubt. Sunshine on Thursday will lead to daylight heating, which will lead to some instability in the atmosphere. Values upwards of 2,000 joules per kilogram may occur. So again, another Dixie Valley severe weather event, as well as even in the lower Mississippi Valley back through Texas now. That is the main area that we're watching with this severe weather event. So let me give you an idea of timing with this. It will primarily start Thursday night. That is when storms will start to fire up. And you can probably notice here, that is where all the storm action will be, is here in Texas and back through areas in Arkansas. Once we go into the overnight hours Thursday into Friday morning, that is when the system moves off to the east. This could turn into a QLCS situation, which would basically mean we may see some embedded tornadoes in a line of storms, quite similar to what we just saw, by the way, last night. It's not too far from what it was, but there will be a few key differences that I'll mention in our next forecast. But once we go through Friday morning, storms will move off to the east into areas like Alabama. But look back over here near the low pressure system. There will be colder air ushering in from behind, which could lead to some snow as far south as areas like Oklahoma Oklahoma and Arkansas. Now, unfortunately for those in the southern plains, this is not going to equivalent to much snowfall. At worst case scenario or best case scenario, depends on how you look at it, there will probably be no more than an inch of snow in parts of Oklahoma, but even then, I would doubt that there will be much accumulation out of this. Main area of accumulation will likely begin in northwestern Arkansas and go through the Ohio Valley, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. But going into the Ohio Valley as well as the southeast, again, severe weather back down here south of Tennessee for the most part, through areas like Mississippi and Alabama Friday morning. And then here's your winter storm, and look at the low pressure system value, by the way. 982 millibars. That is a very strong low pressure system, which will lead to some heavier snowfall with these bands on the north and west side of this low. So again, very impressive system to say the least. Once we go through Friday afternoon and evening, snow will continue in the Ohio Valley, as well as maybe even into the eastern Midwest and into Michigan. Eventually going into Saturday, that low pressure system moves further into areas like the Northeast. In terms of snowfall accumulation, again, things will change as we get closer, but we very well could see some areas getting upwards of a foot to maybe even a foot and a half of snow. That is not out of the question, but again, this is just a computer model, not a forecast, but this is maybe something that could happen as we go into really Friday of this week. Things will change though. Again, we're still 4 to 5 days out, so stay tuned. We'll keep you posted with the latest details there. And for those in the Northeast, obviously you are currently getting over one winter storm, but there will be another one coming as we go into Friday. Again, this is the low pressure system that we are going to have to watch very closely for. It'll really determine what the weather will be across a large chunk of the United States this week. But really, this could become a pretty potent winter storm for those in the Northeast. The low pressure system, though, is a question mark. Where does this go? Could it go a bit further down to the south into areas like the Atlantic Ocean, or will it go a bit further off to the north and northeast and bring more of a snowfall threat to areas back up in maybe upstate New York and back through northern New England? So there is a question mark here of where the low pressure system goes. So stay tuned as we get closer, because things will really change dramatically where this low pressure system goes. Further south it is, the more snowfall that is likely going to happen in areas like the Northeast and New England. In terms of snowfall accumulation, there will be some pretty hefty snowfall out of this if the low pressure system takes that southerly track that I was just mentioning that the European model is hinting at. Some areas could get, again, upwards of even a foot and a half of snow. That is a ton of snowfall, and these areas are in a big snowfall deficit, so any snowfall at this point, some people may be excited for. But to start off March, I'm not sure if you're really looking forward to it. Some of you are still looking for spring. But if you are looking forward to spring, temperatures across the United States forecasted to be fairly above average this week. The only exception would be that cold blast. It'll be pretty quick from that low pressure system over areas in the Mississippi Valley. Once we go into the weekend and into next week, though, temperatures will return to around or above average here in the United States. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.